Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate your leadership on this issue, and I will just comment to say, although we're hearing a lot about not wanting to rush anything today, I think the situation is urgent, and I thank our witnesses for highlighting the urgency of the situation. We've certainly seen this uptick going on for the last few years and then more recently in the last 6 months. And if we continue to work at the speed of government and bureaucracy as we're watching this threat metastasize and grow in a very sophisticated way, then they're moving at the speed of broadband, as was said earlier, then we're going to continually be behind. So I really appreciate the testimony today and the leadership on this issue because we have to address it. We talk about the numbers of people that are working on it. I appreciate the discussion on the resources. Previously, government officials said there was a total of 16 people across the government that were working on countering violent extremism, which included 6 from DHS, plus NCTC, DOJ, and others. Recently, those officials have now given us some great, and I'm being sarcastic, news that the number in DHS is up to potentially 15 people, which would, I'm sorry, from 6 up to 15, which would then put the number at 24. 24 total people across the government that are focusing on this issue, with 20,000 IRS agents, running around to make sure you don't take an improper home office deduction. So we know what the number, we don't know exactly what the number is, but we know what it's not, and it's not somewhere between 16 and 24. So I appreciate the testimony today to talk about that. I know a lot of issues have been discussed already. I'm uniquely wanting to hear, Ms. Pandit, from your perspective as a woman. You've said you've been to 80 countries addressing this issue, and I've been deployed to many Middle Eastern countries, many predominantly Muslim countries myself in the military, and so I'm interested to see, especially as a woman, especially when you're dealing with some of this fundamentalist views of the role of women and the challenges that we have there. Just if you've had any challenges even with access and how you've been treated as you've been doing this research as a woman. And I also am interested specifically about whether we need to engage differently with girls and young women being recruited versus men. It's been noted that of the 600 or so Western girls that have traveled to be, recruited to Iraq and Syria, only 2 have made it out, where other reports show that up to 30% of the male foreign fighters are actually flowing out. So, while men may think they're signing up to fight, women are signing up to be raped and sexual slavery. And so is there a different element of how we're going to address this related to the recruitment of girls versus boys?
So thank you for the question. A very personal one, but I'll answer it for you. A lot of people asked me when I was Special Representative, why did the United States government pick a female, a Muslim, and American to do this job? And I feel very honored to have had the chance to serve my country in this way, and it was a remarkable experience. Obviously, traveling to 80 countries, you see a lot, and my life will never be the same again. I will never see the world the same way again. But on your specific question about being a woman, I'll tell you what, as a senior government American official, I was given access anywhere I needed, but I got to do something that a man couldn't do. I was able to go into very conservative environments with women and talk with them candidly about what's taking place. And I would argue that had a man been in this job, when I was doing what I was doing, they could not have had the access.
But we were also able to talk to the men. Were they?
Yes.
Okay.
There was no issue. I mean, of course, as you well know, there are certain countries in the world in which there are cultural components. I couldn't always shake the hands of the people that I was dealing with. But everybody was interested in making sure that they heard, that the American government heard what they were experiencing. And they wanted to make sure that I could take that back to the Secretary of State. And I was able to do that. There was never a case. I do remember I was in Sudan at one point, and there was a university visit I was going to go to. And the men and women were going to be in 2 different rooms, and they didn't want to do this. But because I came in, they allowed both boys and girls to come together. And we had a really, the embassy was very, very surprised. How did this happen? But there are more opportunities like that did happen that afforded me the chance to actually see things in a new way. I do want to talk to you about the girls and the women and the radicalization and sort of what they are signing up for. I spoke to someone earlier today, Mr. Keating, about this effort on how women get radicalized and what particularly is happening there. There's far more work to be done, not just about the research. Seamus and I agreed. We've done a lot of work. We do know a lot after after 14 years, we don't know enough about what's happening with the females. And you're seeing younger and younger girls interested in going to Syria and, in fact, radicalizing in different ways, which means that the way in which the bad guys are luring those kids in online and offline is very specific. So we do need to do more around that and understand those counter narratives. And the final point I'll say is this. We don't have enough female voices globally that can talk to girls about what it is that's happening. We're hearing the human rights groups speak about the rape, speak about using their wombs as weapons of mass destruction, frankly. You're hearing all these conversations in ISIS land about what this means for girls, but we haven't been able to move those narratives to a place where young girls are hearing it and makes a difference for them, and we have to do more.
Great, thank you. And my time's expired. I yield back. Thanks.